We're living in a digital age. Rad TV's here. Turn the page. Creators getting paid from day one. Monetize your content. Let's have some fun. Web3 vibes. We're on the chain. Decentralized. Breaking the reins. Multi-chain support. We're spreading the love. Rad TV's taking content above and beyond. Every device. We're everywhere. Rad TV beyond compare. Streaming dreams. Living large. Get your stream pass. NFT. Take charge. Rad TV. Oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Apps on your phone, PlayStation 2. Rad TV, it's all brand new. From your couch or on the go. Stream your favorite shows, let's roll. Creators rise, it's your time. Monetize, keep every dime. Rad TV's the place to be. Join the revolution, set your content free. Every device, we're everywhere. Rad TV beyond compare. Streaming dreams, we're living large. Get your stream pass, NFT, take charge. Rad TV, oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. So we're gonna stop. From morning to night, we're in your sight. Rad TV, the future's bright. Content kings and queens arise. On Rad TV, reach for the skies. Rad TV, oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna...
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. Tery, welcome. A beautiful Wednesday morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're pumped to have you.
This is going to be so much fun.
We agree. We agree. Hello, everyone. My name's Cameron. I'm head of community at Rad TV. Hi, Kiri. Hi, Sandy Toes. Hi, Benny. Hi, Bijo. Hi, Tony. I'm going to invite you up to speak, Tony. Hi, Frisky, Pragino. Hello, Dagmar. Everyone. Hello, 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 hello. What an incredible couple weeks it has been. We have had a ton of fun, and the community is really on fire lately. It is a truly amazing time to be in this space and to be alive. I really feel truly blessed to be at the position I am, and to be working with all of you, and the way we have been for the past year is inspiring and empowering, and literally gives me infinite energy. So great to speak with Tery today. Tery came into our space a few weeks ago. She connected with Tony, and since then she has been an absolute ball of fire, dynamite, whatever you want to call it. She has absolutely been a spark to our community, and we're so grateful that she joined Rad TV and that we've been able to connect with her. She's got a ton of work up on Rad right now. We just posted a link to her work on Rad TV on X if you want to scroll through. And if you go to radtv.com, her work is the first thing you'll see in the featured section right now. And you can go there and check out some of her free work and some stuff that she has monetized. So please head over there and support Tery. Tery is an artist, an author, a creative director, a filmmaker. She's known for challenging, expanding the boundaries of conventional artistry. She specializes in using AI to create captivating experiences. She's been using AI tools since 2020. She's got a background in digital arts, had a digital arts career that started in the 80s, and has held some pretty big leadership positions for world-renowned agencies. And as an executive creative director and strategist, she's really all over the place. And since connecting with her through the AI Art Today spaces and learning more about her, we just wanted to sit down today and have a conversation, Tery, figure out, exactly what your goals are, what's inspiring you, what's motivated you to take this space in the way you have. And you just seem to really be passionate and inspired about what you're doing. So excited to hear from you today and talk about your journey and learn more about you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. I got to tell you, this medium is something that I've been waiting for so long. And I'm so glad you created Rad TV so that I could comfortably share what I want to share without like having the addition of like interruptions with advertising and stuff like that. This is really great. And you guys, you have been phenomenal, and I really appreciate all the help that I got and bringing my friends on board. I think that's so exciting. Yeah, we're just going to make this channel, we're going to make Rad TV explode. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Thank you for that energy, and we feel like it already is. And Tony's had this vision for a long time. He saw at a time when nobody else did how all of these different components and pieces would work together, and it's really exciting to see that the community is starting to see how these tools work, and especially our footprint now. It's one thing to say we're Web3 or we are on chain. It's another thing to say we're taking Web3 and on chain content to literally every device and putting it in your living room, putting it on your TVs, putting it on your gaming consoles, putting it on your VR headsets. And we're really excited about the opportunity. So, Tery, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start with, let's go back to like college days. You decided to have a career in art. Where you, and I don't want to dox you or don't share anything that you're uncomfortable sharing, but I'd love to hear, when did you make that decision of I'm going to be an artist, and at what point did that really become a professional endeavor as opposed to a strictly creative endeavor? And where did you get your start?
Oh, you're going to laugh. I think I started when I was 3 years old, and I drew all over the apartment walls.
I've got that in my near future.
I think the turning point for me was in high school when I started to get very serious about drawing and painting. And I have a very traditional training in my art practice, which was hugely helpful in my digital practice. So yeah, I have a BFA from Albertus Magnus College, but art training from Pear College of Art. I did go on to try and get my MFA from Pratt, and I loved Pratt. But it was super expensive. I know it doesn't sound like the 80s were expensive, but for somebody who's paying their own way, it was really expensive, and living in New York. So, I think I have a lot of like really interesting influences. Like Pear was definitely the school of like hardcore realism. And I did okay, but it wasn't my thing. It didn't really express like a lot of emotion. And I was searching for something that would really give me more, I don't know, guts to my work. It's literally speaking guts. So, that's a little bit about the early days. I have some interesting influences. I had a really interesting encounter when I was in New Haven and going to Pier, and I happened to be at this thing called Elm City Diner, and I met this guy, Peter Weller. He was watching me draw, and he sat there and he was watching. I didn't drink. I still don't drink. I was having hot chocolate. It was crazy. But I was drawing in this surrealistic format that I really loved, which was a no-no at Peer. You weren't supposed to do things like that. So he was really very awesome. And we had this great conversation about Warhol, other artists like Dali. He told me this whole story about how Dali got into this surrealism mindset by holding this glass in his hand. And when he fell asleep, and the glass fell to the floor, that's when he started painting. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. So I don't know. He was a great influence on pushing me to really understand like the whole world of surrealism and really getting into like even literature. Like he read me of all the places. We went into a 24-hour bookstore in New Haven Connecticut and read me this book called Naked Lunch by William Burroughs. And that was pretty wild. Like, I had no idea that, Burroughs could be so out there. And it was like my first experience to like listening to that narration and that like sort of very vivid and strange hallucinogenic sort of literature. So it was really huge. And, I appreciate, this whole like experience and surrealism. And, he went on to like, he treated me like the little sister, which was pretty awesome. So when he was doing RoboCop, he called me from the set and let me know how that was going and stuff like that. But he was also very generous. So when I was like looking into film back in the 80s, and I had a chance to go to LA, I got to meet people like Michael Bays and a few others because of him. So not that I did any work, I was just curious about their process and how they got there, what their mindset was, and things like that. So I had a chance to talk to them, which was kind of cool.
That's amazing.
Anyway, it
Amazing.
was
Amazing.
amazing.
Isn't it weird how like a random chance encounter can change your entire trajectory in life?
It sure was. I almost said no. The bartender came over to me. He's like, because he knew me. I was always in there after work. And because that's where all the kids went. Like, that's where everybody went. And he leaned over and he goes, I'm telling you, take a drink. This guy wants to buy you a drink. I'm telling you to take it. And I'm like, okay, bring me another hot chocolate.
Get
So,
chocolate milk wasted.
yeah.
So what was it like coming out of, so you went to art school and then you come out of school, and did you have, as a creative myself, I have seen quite a few people struggle with the transition from education to a professional career with art, because there's a lot of stigmas and I guess like cultural energies that, don't take the corporate route. Don't go get that creative job that's boxed in, or, in a cubicle, or, just diminishing your creative abilities or boxing you in some way. Did you come out and immediately dive into a professional career, or did you try your hand at being an independent creative and making creations and selling those works? How did you transition out of school into a real profession of, finding your place as a creative director and strategist for major brands?
So it's really interesting. I always worked my way through school. So I was either going to school and then going to some graphic design agency and doing work there, then waiting on tables at some restaurant. So that sort of helped me put together my portfolio early on. Even though when I went to, Pratt, I really wanted to get into the fine arts. So I had like a year between graduating undergrad and then going into Pratt, in which I did work for some, very much commercial agencies. And I went into one place which was a diagnostic radiology company in Connecticut, and did a lot of like production work and, the basic grunt work that you're given to sort of build that portfolio and that knowledge of what production is all about. But going into Pratt, I did have to find something, and I had the pleasure of meeting Ellen Strago, and she brought me on board as a gallerist. So I worked with her, and she gave a lot of the young up and coming East Village artists their break through her gallery, Strago Gallery. And from her, I met like Greg Masters, who also, he was an art critic at the time and opened up, like doors. So in which I got to meet so many amazing artists. And the East Village back in the 80s was so wild. It was incredible. Like,
The glory
and even New
days.
York. Yeah, it was. It really was. It was an incredible time. But that really helped. I had to do things for Ellen, like, prepare the cards and, get things out and prepare all the artwork and set up shows and, make sure, the artwork was going from who we sold it to and, into, from the artist to the buyer and stuff like that. And I really loved working with her. She was incredible. Um, Gosh, I don't want to lose my train of thought, but during that time, I mentioned things like, oh, Ellen, you should, get a computer. She goes, oh, everything was still on the typewriter with her. And I was going to Pratt, and I had a good friend who was like,
what year is this?
oh God, it's like, I want to say 86.
Okay, cool.
Way back.
Mm-hmm.
But stop me. I don't want to blab on and be a
No, I
bore
love
on
this.
stuff.
This is why we're here. We're here to learn about you. You are very inspiring, and I know people in the crowd would love to hear this story. So, if I'd love to know. You kind of just hinted at it there, and that was kind of where my next questions were going to lead into. Is you were already seeing digital in 1986. What made you? What sparked that interest, and what were you seeing then that Ellen wasn't, who was a leader in the space at that time?
So it was my roommate in grad school, Caroline Kavanaugh, and she was getting her Master of Science in graphic design, and I was working on my MFA, and she really was struggling with things like specking type and the old-fashioned way of doing things. And I said, I will show you this. And she goes, in exchange, I'll show you how to use a computer. And I was like, what? And she goes, you're going to love it. And I said, I don't think so. I'm not giving up my, I'm not giving up my brushes or canvas. No way. You're right. So after about an hour of sitting in front of, this Mac, which was actually delightful, she showed me how to cut and paste. And it was actually love at first bite. I've got to tell you, I just really, really enjoyed it. And I surpassed her. She was asking me questions about, how to use, some of the photo. I think back then it was digital darkroom and things like that. And I was able to teach her. But this whole thing made me pursue like other avenues. And I left Ellen to go work for an architectural firm, and which was and actually put to work not only my drafting skills but my computer skills, which was really a very cool experience for me. And then after that, I there was a company called I think it was called Next Wave, owned by Ingrid Newman, and that's where the whole digital world just burst open for me. Like we were doing all sorts of different types of presentations and graphics that were shown, on not on screen because that really wasn't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
In presentations, and I learned everything. I got to beta test things like what was to become Photoshop and
Wow.
Illustrator, and it was a cool experience. So
So
that's where I left it all behind.
when you first dove into digital, from you said it was that Ellen that showed you that initially?
Uh, Caroline Kavanaugh,
Caroline.
she was
So when Caroline showed you that and introduced you to the computer, you said first bite you're all in. There was no looking back. You're just like, this is it. I'm going. I'm not even looking back anymore. Were you all digital from that point, or did you remain in the physical realm as well?
So I had an obligation to Pratt in order to stay there and keep my studio. I had to continue on, but I spent the majority of the time in the computer lab, which I absolutely loved. And I went back to, I spoke to Pratt and I said, look, is there any way I could, trade my MFA for an MS? And they're
Wow.
like, no, we can't do that. And which was so disappointing to me. And I thought, okay, so what am I doing? And I just, was able to find, going from Ellen and then the architectural firm and into Next Wave fairly quickly. So yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I saw the writing on the wall, I guess, or it excited me about the possibilities. And while I was at Next Wave, I got experience with, bulletin boards, crazy things like that. So I was on the well for a while until Ingrid came to me. She goes, "We got a $400 bill and it's not time when everybody's working. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm using your modem to dial up to San Francisco to be on the well." And she goes, "Can't you find a..." Oh, I said, "Well, I'm really sorry about that."
That's amazing. That's great. And no, don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were entrepreneurs. They were always encouraging us to experiment, which was so great. But I did find a local bulletin board, which was Echo NYC, founded by Stacy Horn. And gosh, Stacy was incredible. She had like 6 modems going off every hour on the hour in her little apartment in New York. And it was ridiculous. But she showed me all sorts of things like Unix and how to get on and use Caucus and all sorts of things. So that was inspiring because there were so many incredible conversations happening there. Sort of like what, we find in, a little bit on Twitter or, on Twitter DMs in our groups and stuff like that. And maybe a little bit in Discord. But back then it was incredible. Like, it was really incredible. So.
I still think it is. I was just telling this yesterday on a space. I have met my 10 best male friends in my life. I met them all through Bitcoin and all on the internet. None of them, even the friends that live here in Columbus with me right now, I met them elsewhere. I lived in California and met them through Bitcoin and then moved back to Columbus and met them for the first time. And I agree. I think, the online space is where I've really found my family that I chose, not that I was born into. And it's really amazing that we have these tools to connect with people. And I can't imagine so my next question is, I would love to hear, what was the energy like while you're at school and you're seeing the future and you're thinking digital is it? I've got to go digital. You're going to your your counselors at school and you're saying, I want to switch my major. I'm done with the physical. I don't want the studio anymore. I want a computer room and access to online. What's the chatter like at school? What are other students talking about? Are you looking crazy to these people? Are they like, no, she's got it wrong? Or was it a more synergistic energy that other people were seeing this at the same time and a group was transitioning there with you?
So that's such a great question. So the fine arts people were like, "You're really out of your mind." But the, folks that were in the Master of Science for Computers and Communication or Graphic Design, Caroline's group were like, "Oh yeah, this is it." And it was, I don't remember when Pratt actually made the change. I know in 94, I left. I didn't finish my MFA. But in 94, maybe it was 95, they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, this internet thing, this digital thing, can you come back and teach some classes?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So sometimes things come around like, organizations are really afraid. And sometimes they don't think the students are going to, take it on. And then next thing you know, there's a mindset change and things happen.
Incredible. So, you dove into the physical and into the digital world. What was your first real piece of art that you made with your digital tools, with your new digital tool set?
Oh my God, I made so many pieces of art. I know the thing that I remember creating was it was I took some photographs and did a lot of montage work and made this sort of I don't it's I kind of wanted to change the perception of a certain religion. So I really created these.
Don't be scared. Bring it, Tery. Don't let it out. Don't hold back on us.
Yeah. Yeah, I did these incredible, very sensuous pieces that actually I had a show of them in New Haven, which was great. It was incredible to get them printed and show them. But yeah, it was all digital work, based on photos, collaging and adding different elements to the photos and stuff like that. And I think it was called The Creation of Angels. So it was a fun piece to work on way back then.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing. So, as you're doing this and you're watching the industry change in front of your eyes, and you're kind of at the forefront of it, was there a moment that you saw that digital became real and like a tangible thing in the industry of this is taken over now and this is the way forward forever, as opposed to the traditional mediums? Was there a catalyst moment that you saw industry wide or for yourself that was like okay, this is it, no looking back?
Yeah, I really think Ingrid Newman really truly inspired me to, forget it, forget the physical world and let's just go digital.
Amazing.
And that was early on.
This is still late 80s you're talking, yeah?
Yeah, this is late 80s going into the 90s. I was there almost 4 years with them. And then for some reason I left and went to Phoenix, Arizona. But
left LA or New York?
No, I left New York and went to Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow, that's a big change.
It was a big change. But I got to work for a very cool agency that did everything. It was all digital, right down to the production part was digital. It was a great experience. I met Lou Katz there, who went on to Industrial Light and Magic. He was just a kid. He was like 16 years old. And he was so incredible, his work. And I don't know, a couple of years later, Industrial Light and Magic asked him to come on board. And he did a lot of films with them. But, oh, God, this kid's spirit was incredible.
That's fun to hear. So you're meeting all these people and you're working at the big agencies. What was your passion at that time? Was it creating imagery? Was it creating brand assets? What was your focus and what did you love to do during that stage of your career?
So I did both. I kind of had to hide some of my personal digital work, because it wasn't, I guess it would be considered not safe for work in some respects. And when I was at at the agency, I did a lot of digital things, from website development to creativity around that, innovating certain things, really pushing the envelope on making tools do things that certain tools should never have done. I think I created an elevator that went up and down on one page, which was crazy. And I did Reebok's first ever website, which was Planet Reebok.
Wow, that's
It goes way
incredible.
back. I know. Come on, I'm really dating myself. I'm so glad.
That was the best. That was the best Reebok time too. I mean, that's like Shaq. That's the Reebok glory days. That's it.
It was the Reebok glory days, and it was great to work with that crew. They were incredible. Brenda Gundell and the rest of them. They were really passionate about it. And really loved, it was 300 pages hard coded. It was crazy.
So you've been writing too. Were you writing this whole time and that was just another outlet for creativity, or did you decide to start writing at some point on this journey?
I was always writing and creating, and I just never saw the two as separate. I always thought there's a book in there somewhere. At some point, it has to be a visual book because that's what I was taught. And I did create this underground website called D Church, which was a fictitious character. But she was super popular from 95 to 99. And it was sort of like this web opera. And she revealed all sorts of things in her journal and had all sorts of crazy photos on her website. And then I would have to answer her email. So, people would say, I saw you in, New Mexico riding on your motorcycle. And I'd be like, okay, I could go with this. You did see her,
Incredible. Right. So like this is like the first launch of digital characters.
Yeah.
How did that come to an end? And why is I would love to hear how it came to an end or why it didn't keep
Um,
going. Because I'm interested in this today, especially with AI, and we'll get to that more in a minute. But there are
it,
some, musicians or entities. Let's go with the word entities, so not celebrities, but like artists that are purely digital that don't exist. And I feel like we're about to see an entire epic of that. And you did this. What year was this that you were doing this? Incredible.
95 to 99.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Uh, um, I still have the log somewhere in one of the safes. Like 1 million views a month. I mean, that was unheard of back then. Um, okay, so it's sort of a sad story. Maybe maybe I'm making it sad. um, I was at Blue Dingo, and we actually leveraged the knowledge around eChurch to create Lars, who became the sort of digital spokesperson or virtual character for Volvo cars, and launched the S40 V40 in the US using Lars. And that went off really well. But in 99, I got hardcore recruited by um, Ogilvy. And I did reveal this, and they asked if I would take it down, and I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe it's time to mothball it, and I'll put it away somewhere, and maybe in the future. So it is kind of a sort of a sad story that I did that, or I bent to the corporate, you know, whatever. Um, but they gave me a chance to sort of become the executive manager and oversee, a global for professional services and energy, which was, I was like, why would you ever put somebody who's highly creative mind into that role? And they were like, we like opposites. And I'm like, okay. So that's what happened.
You seem perfect for that role, honestly. I mean, it seems like a perfect role for you. Just in the few times we've spoke, it seems like that's where you would thrive.
Yeah, I was fresh at one point, or bold, I guess.
You still
And
are. You still are incredibly.
well, I had a really, one client who was nasty to my team, and I really, really loved the work that they were doing, and it was great work. And he spit on the work, and I pulled him aside in the meeting, and he kept going on about, you need to get bigger, bolder shoulders. And I basically told him I wasn't growing a, well, can I say that on
You
here?
could say whatever you want. You say whatever you
I
want.
told him I'm not. You know what? I'll use the proper name. I'm not growing a penis for him. And that was it. And he turned around. He looked at me like you're giggling. He looked at me. His eyes got really big, and I thought he was going. He goes, "Excuse me, I'll be right back." And he came back and he stuck out his hand, and he goes, "You know what? I now respect you." I shook his hand, and I never had a problem from him.
Amazing. So are you still writing now? Is that still a passion of yours now?
Yes. Oh my God, I am, and I'm remiss in one of I gosh, I have volume 2 of Laundrygate that I'm working on, and I kind of like when it's long form writing. I kind of like to take my time with things, and that's Laundrygate Volume 2. I was hoping to get done by the end of the year, but I think I just want to. It's like 85% there. I'm just having a few little problems with some of the characters, but yeah, I still do a lot of writing.
Can you tell us about Laundrygate and the
So
second piece of this?
yeah, so Laundrygate, the first one was about strange stories about the future. And there are 4 different stories in which a cat is actually the link between all of them. The characters don't overlap until volume 2. The first story is about this chairman. She's, chairman of a massive corporation, and everything is virtual, right down to the gorgeous, beautiful virtual room that she exists in, and all the shenanigans that happen when she puts on her glasses, which are sort of the latest and greatest VR glasses, and crazy things happen, and she's not quite sure of what is reality and what isn't. And so the next story is called 2016. And 2016 is about a look back from the past. And I actually use, it's not about time travel, it's about how people in 2070 actually see history and bring it together, and in which you're in a virtual space and you could see history happening all around you. But that story gets kind of crazy too. And the third story is called Heaven, which is it stands for what is it? Human evolution, afterlife, virtual eternity net. And it's all about what happens to your digital bits and bytes after you leave this world. In the last story is Laundrygate, which is about the creation of this. It's like a mirror. It's a pass-through mirror. It's set 300 years into the future, in which, okay, we all know there's aliens, but evidently, humans don't really care, and we're sort of oblivious to what's going on. And anyways, the shenanigans that happen when these two characters meet in on Earth, and what happens to them. So the next volume is where there's a crossover of characters. So I have flying pigs and crazy cats and all sorts of things that will happen. So it's my, I don't know, it's like my heart project. It's my passion project. But I do want to take that, and that's something, one of the goals that I was hoping to be able to take Laundrygate Volume 1 and make it into a little, a series, a TV series for Rad TV. Except for one thing, I don't want to be the creative behind it because I'm too stuck on the characters. I tried so many times to create visuals of the characters. I just can't do it.
Because you're stuck in a way that you want them to be and not getting them there, or what's the hang up?
Yeah, I think I'm too stuck on the way. Yeah, I just can't get out of my own way. And I think what I want to do is look for other people that will be interested in working with me on this, so that we can take these characters, and I would, give up the creative license except for the sort of art direction.
I'm sure people listening in this space would be happy to collaborate with you on that. And I'm sure the community that you're a part of right now, there's definitely some people in there that would love to work with you for sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
So let's go back. You say you founded a digital agency in New York City, and had some good success and recognition. Can you tell us about that? Why did you decide to leave and start your own thing and found your own agency?
Oh yeah, STIR was amazing. It stood for Strategy, Tactics, Implementation, and Results. So we started it out of a necessity. We were getting some work from the other creative director, Alec Pollock, and myself. We're working for a company called Sightline. And Sightline, the founder of Sightline, decided didn't want to do agency anymore. So, we were like, can we just take the clients and start our own thing? And he was like, yes. And we did that. And we actually worked out of the Sightline office for, oh gosh, maybe the first year because he had paid for it. And he was like, just kick me over some money whenever you guys get,
Amazing.
Yeah, he was great. Hal was great. Um, and we did that for a while. And then, you know, it was great. We had some incredible clients, like Atlantic Records, the New York Public Library. We did a lot of
Are
Warner
these
Brothers.
advertising campaigns that you're working on?
They were all like websites and digital marketing and things like that. So, and it was great up until there was a certain point where we kept getting asked this question, like, how many people are you going to be putting on my project? And I thought, well, we're trying to be efficient, and 5 people is good enough. And they're like, well, so and so can put 100 people, and I'm like, that's not really efficient.
Right.
So, Alec and I made a decision that we would either sell the company or merge it with a partner that we were working with at the time, and that's what we did. We had a lot of offers, but the one that stuck was with the tech company that we were working with. And then, so interesting, like not long after that, I think it was like 2 weeks after the papers were inked to sell it, I was invited by Chris Ingram to go out to the UK, go out to London, and talk about all things digital. He had originally wanted Stir, and I was like, the papers are inked. I can't do anything about that. It would get pretty messy. And he's like, well, we're actually interested in you. And so I spent a lot of time with this like incredible genius of a guy who owned the largest independent media buying company in the world, I guess, and owned 2 football teams and all sorts of things. And, I got to tell you, you're right. I was pretty lucky. I grew up fairly poor when I was a kid and just like pushed through a lot of stuff. And I wasn't always vocal. I wasn't always like in people's faces saying, hey, I got to meet you. I don't know why people reached out or whatever. But that's what happened to me.
I love this. This is incredible. You're going to need to write autobiography, Terry. This we love the fiction and all of the creativity, but you have a wonderful story. This is really exciting. So I'm going to ask a question now that I know everybody here is interested in, and this will kick off kind of the second half of our conversation, which is, AI. So tell us about your introduction to AI that was long before most people here listening, and way before I ever even thought about the term AI. Let's hear about your introduction to AI and your first encounter with that term, and what your thoughts were coming from your perspective of everything's digital, and that's where you were creating. And I'm very interested to hear this.
So that is such a great question. Like I knew AI was around because I read a lot of science fiction when I was a kid. I knew it was coming, but the one thing that made me realize it's actually here and I didn't understand it was I was introduced to Ben Gorzel, who some of you might know as one of the leaders in AGI today. But when Ben was starting out, he showed me this algorithm that was beyond like anything that I saw. Its capabilities to search contextually were incredible. So I was like, I was blown away, and Ben impressed upon me, you need to read this. So I read this. I read papers by Chris Lucas. I read all this heady stuff and I couldn't understand half of what Ben was saying. I'm like, Ben, can you treat me like a 5-year-old, please? Which is pretty impossible for Ben to do with anybody. But it was impressive, and I really liked him, and he was trying really hard to make sure that I understood what I was seeing. And it was incredible. And we all know Ben went off to do some great things, like went to work for Kurzweil, went to work for Google, and Happy Cog is his company now. And I think he's like giving away money for, anybody who has a proposal on AI and stuff like that. But that was my first introduction in the year 2000.
It's so wild that your first introduction to AI was in the year two. Like everybody, at least from my perspective, the only things I saw were like movies. Like there wasn't anybody in my world as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old saying, AI is next. AI is going to change everything. And I find it really interesting today that we use the term AI for all these tools, but AI has been in our lives in so many ways for such a long time. And even as far as, Google directs traffic based on traffic routes and the amount of feedback they're getting from any individual's phone and timing updates and things like that. That's AI. And it's, I don't want to say most basic form. I'm not intelligent enough or have enough knowledge to say that, but in a more basic term than, what we're talking about today. So I would love to hear more about this. So you saw this in 2000. Was it a 20-year lull of no AI until 2020? I don't think so. So what was your next encounter, and what was your next moment of like, okay, this is really coming, and you could see it, maybe not tangible hands-on yet, but you were able to see what was coming down the pipe?
Yeah, same thing as you. Like it was like all of a sudden when Ben said algorithm, like I just saw, oh, algorithm, that's just a database where it's relational and humans are like doing things to make sure it lines up and it spits out stuff, But Ben was showing me algorithm, which meant it's learning, it's understanding, it's taking inputs and giving you outputs in a more logical way. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And like I said, he asked, gave me some papers to read, which were great. But I also got heavy involved in things like the Institute of Ethics and Emerging Technologies, which I did some writing for, and Lifeboat, and then the Arizona Future Society, where I published a couple of papers and presentations on AI and emerging technologies. So I didn't see, sort of, when you're in the middle of the chaos and it's all happening around you.
Right.
You're not quite sure where the cosmos is leading us until, I think today the clearing is happening. It's like, okay, now we could see, my work, when I was writing about it, I was really asking those hardcore questions that we're still asking today. Is this going to take our job over? And what does that mean? Is my toaster going to, automatically, or my toilet? Like I do have a funny story about toilets and biology and not being able to eat the things that I love to eat. Is that what's going to happen to us where, we're so cared for by this AI overseer that we can't do the things that we love to do? Oh, there will be no chocolate in your life, Tery.
Sure, or no speeding on the highway, or no left turn on a red light at a moment that you need to make one because the car physically will not do it. These are very good questions. So you started asking these questions pretty early. Where here in your notes, it's it says pursued digital and technological innovation. Following a pretty tragic event in your life. Did that have an impact on you going down this path? And was it Kurzweilish? And I'm sorry to ask such a personal question, but I'm not sure how to venture into this area otherwise.
Oh gosh, thanks for bringing that up. I was going to talk about that in terms of film. So
yeah, however you'd prefer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover in the question that you're asking me. So Cam is asking about a tragic situation that happened to my family. I lost my brother. He was a little bit younger than me. This is back in the 80s. He actually died in 90. He he was he was a funeral director, my brother. So, some of the responsibilities of funeral directors was to do embalming. And he had an accident while embalming someone, which led him to contract HIV. But it was, Connecticut, it was the 80s, and, he didn't fit any of the he didn't fit the criteria of somebody, so that never came up. Plus, and back then it didn't come back. It didn't come up unless you asked. So, he went on to keep getting sicker and sicker, and he went through like testing for leukemia. They knew something was wrong, but they weren't quite sure. And oh, my poor brother had so many back punctures, and he was just a kid. He was only 26 when he died from this. And it wasn't until I was actually working at Next Wave at the time, working on, believe it or not, the AIDS conference, the first one. And I was reading over, and I'm like, oh my God, these symptoms sound so much like my brother's.
Wow.
And I said to him, Tony, I'm like, I hate to ask, or it was back then, it was so touchy. Here, we're
Or
just
imply, yeah, sure.
right. Today it's like, we're just out there, we just say it, hey. So I said, I know you don't use drugs, are you gay? And he's like, I'm not gay. I'm like, but you got, I think you should just ask the doctor to test you, because you do use, you're working with blood. So he did. The test came back positive, and it was worse than positive. So he was already in that stage where, it, there was nothing left to do except take these outrageous amount of pills. Like, he was on 24 different types of pills a day, and until, there was nothing left. So that whole experience sort of struck me in a way, in a lot of different ways. And I think that's why, Heaven, I wrote as a dedication to him in Laundrygate. Because I was always like, how do I bring my brother back? And I know you can't reanimate somebody. I know, like, no matter how much DNA you save, you're not going to be able to, bring him back. But is there a way digitally that I could bring him back? And I think going forward, I think we're going to see more and more of this opportunity. I've even, like Nancy, who from AI Art Today, asked me if I would work with her on a project to, bring her father's voice and his image to life.
Yeah, I was on that space. Incredible that she even
Yeah,
asked that. Yeah.
and I think today we have that ability. Even if you save, like, I think it was 10 seconds of somebody's voice, you have something that they wrote or whatever, you could make, create that person, that that avatar, that AI agent, if you would, to represent, your loved one that you lost. So yeah. But it also influenced my work. Like, the cosmic part of my work. So even though I love science fiction, I think of myself as more in the cosmic realm. So edging slightly on fantasy, even though there's technology in it. But the death part of it is oddly inspiring to me. Like, what happens when we transcend? And that was all about, like, what I was trying to do, work out in Beyond Darkness. Like, what happens to us? So
I love this. I don't want to derail the conversation, but I've had a lot of nights where I've spent thinking about these things, and I've written a book myself, and one of the there's a title of a chapter called Death, and the subtitle is I forget the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of like, death may be God, kind of inspiring me. And the thought of not being here, and the thought of not being able to do the things that I want to see done while I'm here on earth drives me every day. And I don't know if it's a curse or a gift, but it sure is beautiful to be here today and to have another day to accomplish things and be the man for my family that I want to be. And I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, Tery. I'm sure it's not easy to talk about all the time, and you're an awesome. You're just incredible. You're such a light. So let's keep going. So I kind of asked that question as Kurzweilish of that's Ray Kurzweil's whole thing with AI, and that was, I would say, one of my first ventures into even hearing about AI was the fact that that was Kurzweil went on a big, I don't know if it was late 90s, early 2000s of he was picking, I think it was like 2027, he was saying. I might be wrong, might be misremembering, misquoting, and forgive me if I am. But he was saying 2027, he believes that AI was, taking over, some singularity event was going to happen, and that we were going to realize that this whole thing is digital and it is all playing out in a scape or, a frequency that we're not really fully aware of what's happening here. I think today we're better positioned to fulfill those deep desires of humanity to bring somebody back, because we have things like X, we have Facebook, we have all these digital messages we're sharing with each other. We have voicemails. I have voicemails from living relatives that are still alive that were so sweet. I'm like, I'm never letting that voicemail go. I have them saved in multiple places, and I will never let that go. Is that something that's interesting you right now in AI? Is that a connection that you're finding that is driving you to this tool set, or are those two parallel or completely separate lanes for you?
So I am absolutely fascinated by it. I really am. And I love the way you're thinking about death, because I think, as being the greatest mystery that we won't know until we're there, right? um, I think here we have a way of exploring it. And I do like what Kurzweil was saying about the singularity. There were different branches of thought where, there was going to be the connection of us to the machine, where Kurzweil is saying the AI is going to be or surpass the way we're thinking, and our own intelligence is fascinating to me. And also, where do these tools lead us? Can we, resurrect? And how does that happen? And we might have some unfinished business with family members or whoever, loved ones, that we need to say things that we didn't get to say. And what a perfect opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. These tools are incredible. So let's keep going on this AI journey. And I would love to hear let's pick up a little more current. Where did you see something in the last, you said 2020s where you really kicked off this new period in your life with AI. Did you see something in 2019? Was it in 2020 that you saw a tool and were like, all right, I'm in, this is what I'm doing now. I'm spending time here.
Yeah, it was 2020. So a couple of things happened. One, I got to see Ann Spelter talk about Playform AI, and Playform is a generative adversarial network. And she really inspired me with the use of, and it was my first connection to an algorithm that would understand my artwork. So I really love the fact that I could upload so many of my photographs, my own artwork, and train it, and it comes out with you sort of let it go. So I couldn't manipulate it, or I could actually do the final outputs, bring them back into Photoshop and manipulate it. But the outputs were so beautiful that I just kind of let it go, and that was because of Anne. But Copy AI was my first writing instrument, or first writing AI. And that came about because I was hired to create a whole content plan for a company. It was by an agency, but for a company that did knowledge graphs. And I said, wow, what a perfect way. I wanted to explore how can we do more and how can we be more efficient. And I came back and with a bunch of tools, and I said, you know what, I think Copy AI will be the best. And that's how, I started leveraging it to do more professional work or writing and things like that. So that was back in 2020. And going forward, it became all this incredible investigation. 22 was the birth of AI art today, and sharing and understanding what was going on with the different tools. I had already started incorporating, AI images into books that I was writing, and doing artwork and making these quirky films with the playform pieces that I was getting. And God, it was just, a trial and error and really understanding how does this thing think? How does Copy AI think? After a 4-year relationship with it, I finished a project back in April in which I had to write up some research reports on some um, uh, product that we were working on. And I decided I would dump all this information into it and see how it would organize it. And it did a beautiful job, except it added something new. And I wrote back to it and I said, why did you add this 5th column? And it said, because I know you like nuances. And I thought,
Wow.
that's pretty
That is
interesting.
really interesting.
You after 4 years, it finally got me. I like nuances.
So I love this, and I'm very glad to get into this part of the conversation. So are you viewing it? And I love the term "it." I've thought a lot about this. If we truly are, in fact, in a matrix, a sim, then anytime we use the word "it," is actually referring to like IT, which is because everything is part of the matrix. So it is all one thing. And I love that people say, like, I was talking to it. I was talking, and they say it without even really thinking about it. But actually the word it is a good representation in all written history. So like anytime you read the word it always refers to the sim itself, not the individual thing you are talking about, because it is one thing. So that being said, are you looking at it as a collaborator, or are you looking at it as a tool? And before I finish this question, shout out Bijou. Are you nice to your AI tool?
That's a
Be
great
nice to your, I
question.
should not even said the word tool. I should have said, are you nice to your AI? Sorry, Bijou, I messed it up.
I do treat my AI right. I do refer to it as it. Um, and I also refer to it as a tool. It's interchangeable. But, interesting, I was part of I volunteered to be part of Google's AI test kitchen. And I wrote back and I'm like, it will eventually I be able to name my AI other
Have
than
to.
just with,
Can't be
yeah,
Siri. Can't be saying, "Hey Siri," and I
yeah,
just said that, and I
exactly.
guarantee a thing in my house is talking right now. It's like, no, that can't be it. I got to pick a name.
Right. I want it to either name itself or for me to pick its name,
It
I
can't.
don't want to
I don't
call
want
it
it to name
through.
itself. It names itself. I'm taking it back. I'm getting rid of it. It's gonna pick some ridiculous
Oh,
name that I just have to refer to for the eternity. No thanks.
but yeah, I don't know. Gives it a little of its own thought process.
True. True. You're right. Okay. I'm willing to change with a good argument.
Um, yeah, so I do refer to it, and there are different its. It's not just one it. There's the creative it. There's the film it.
I love that.
Um,
So you felt like after 4 years, it started really responding to you in a way that was a true connection? You really felt like it was starting to understand you? And was this all one conversation that you're having? I'm not sure how the tool that you were referring to
Oh,
works, the right
okay. So
copy. Yeah.
Copy AI. You could have like multiple sessions with it, and actually, you could toggle between um, Anthropic's Claude or
So similar to GPT, just
OpenAI.
different
Yeah,
flows of conversation. Okay.
exactly. And it remembers, like, I could go back into the history and got like hundreds of conversations, like maybe it's more than hundreds. I'm embarrassed to say.
Don't
And
be.
you
This
could
is
go back.
incredible. You should be proud of this. This is great. This is amazing.
Obsessive of me, huh? But I could go back and I could look at the very beginning where it was sort of fumbling to the present time where, it became more nuanced. And I love that I could train it on so many different voices, like tones of voice, not literally voices. So, and so that I've been using it more and more for helping me with character development and really understanding the depth and breadth of, the Laundrygate characters. So it's been really instrumental in that. But I don't get the same sort of touchy feely, from Midjourney or some of the other tools because I feel like I'm the maybe the wrong term is sporadic on the use. So I think if I were with what is it Midjourney or PicTen or whatever Luma, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Luma.
should I
Yeah.
should say Luma, yeah. In which maybe Luma will be the test for me. I think I'll have eventually get that type of experience where it knows that, I like these types of colors or maybe I could set it up that way. God, it would be so awesome if we could set things up
We're
so
getting
that
there. I think we're getting
yeah.
there. We have to. Blacklight, when we had Blacklight on NFTV, shout out Blacklight in the crowd. He had some great thoughts on that as well. I think that's where we're headed, is a place where we can be a little bit more specific and unique and personal with our tools. So
Mhm.
that being said, are you feeding it your old writings to give it some oversight on the way you write and to write new things, or are you just giving it fresh
Yes.
prompts? Okay, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Are you giving it old work and
So
saying this is what it was? Like anything you'd share there.
yeah, so in the tone of voice, so I've got like tons of writing that I did in the past. I basically take, chunks of that or as many characters it allows me and put it in to copy AI so it understands like I need, and I know specifically the tone of voice that I want is to be, more friendly, more happy-go-lucky, nonchalant sort of, background. So I take that chunk, put it in there, and then I literally will call it that. This is my happy-go-lucky character. So, and that way it understands, what I'm looking for when I select that tone of voice and then feed it more writing to, editing is a poor way of saying it, but more writing that and hopefully it will enhance it within that tone of voice.
Right. I was just going to ask, are you writing with it and you're editing its output, and does it feel like it's in your tone and your voice, or in the narrator's tone and voice that you actually are you able to achieve your goal
Mhm.
there, or are you making concessions the way video creators are, of kind of working with it, as opposed to saying, if you wrote the sentence, it would be exactly as you crafted and feel right to you. But are you how are you I don't know really how else to ask
So,
that. Do you understand my
yeah,
question? I'm sorry.
I do. So there are some things that I will allow creative control to fall onto copy AI, and other things that I go back and I'll edit out because I didn't like it. It didn't work. So that's the way it's working for me. So it's not 100% like, oh, feed it in and get a perfect piece out.
Sure.
As the creative director, we never see anything as perfect, do we?
Sure, sure, sure. So you're getting it close, and then you are taking the range from there and getting it editing. I don't like that word either for this
Yeah,
conversation, but getting it in order. You are not editing is not the word. Producing is the word. I think
producing.
yes, it's producing. Um, so are you using? I'm interested to know like your workflow for that, and I'm sure others in the audience are as well. And we're getting to a place where some of the audience members may have questions, and if you do, feel free to put your hand up and ask Tery some questions here. Are you separating those chats into different characters, or are all of the characters for one piece in that same chat? How are you devising that conversation with it to get the most out of it? Is it all in one place, or are you breaking it up and like this is character specific, and then combining those pieces later? How does that work for you?
Yeah, no, I will toggle back and forth. So in Copy AI, you can actually do that. You could take a chunk and say, okay, this is Jessa from Heaven, right? And this is the way Jessa sounds, but Jessa is interacting with Mary. Mary sounds like this. She's got a high pitched voice. She's, really charming. And where Jessa is hardcore, all technology, blah, blah, blah. Very different tones of voice. So I want that to be able to come out in the writing. And so you can toggle those discussions back and forth. So it's not me having, yeah.
Amazing.
I
I mean,
hope
I just love the way I
it takes.
love hearing about how different people use these tools. It's so interesting to me because it's really your workflow as the creative director. And I think people aren't really giving themselves as much credit as they should be. Some are, but the production of the work here is just as it is anywhere else. Like I keep seeing these similarities, my background in music and seeing this new video epic emerge now of I went to school for music in 2004 because I didn't know anyone with a studio. And coming from a small town, hip hop music seemed light years like a different universe. Like how do I knew how to record, but I didn't know anything about it. I knew how to make beats, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know any of the lexicon. I didn't know how to have a conversation with somebody. And then I go to school for it. And at the same time going to school, there's this revolution where everybody now has a home studio. All the big studios are closing down. It only costs $500 and you have all of the audio equipment you need to record a very sonically pleasing album that you can release commercially globally, and make money on it. And it feels like that's what's happening right now with visuals, with video. And I'm really interested to see, how these different tool sets play out, and to hear that you are using something for writing, breaking down characters, and then combining that into a new piece that it could be a script, it could be a book, it could be a shot list for a piece of work. How are you making those decisions? Is it really just about like the mental images that you're having while you're working with the text and seeing if it's visual or if it's written? Like what is prompting you to take that next choice of creativity that you're deciding?
So, okay, so I work in a couple of different ways. So since Laundrygate was already written, volume one was written, it's published, it's out there, and I'm working on volume two, I just thought, wow, wouldn't this be great if I could actually make it into some kind of TV series, right? So that work was already done. But things like oh, I don't know, even as silly as Sir Miles Whiskerton, which it was originally just an excuse to allow my mind to be more creative and use like visual assets from somebody else's library. So Mark Jeffrey gave me a ton of photos of his cat, who's absolutely adorable. As you all know, I do love cats. um, and I created this whole like scenario around Miles, based on what I saw from his personality, based on what Mark had told me about his cat, and and then started writing a little bit of what I thought was originally going to be a script turned into like a music video, which I thought would be a lot of fun. But I went through a lot of iterations of Miles. Like when I started working on Miles, like, I think it was 6 months ago, the artwork just, I thought it was horrendous. It wasn't there. I didn't like it. But then it seemed like we hit this new level of change in the way, at least for me personally, the artwork is coming out. So then I was able to take that artwork and then make it into something more than just, I don't know what I don't, my original iteration, which was not great. It was kind of poor. And apply this lovely little like tune about Miles and his adventure out there. So that's just another way of working. I have like ideas about quantum space and quantum time, which were images. Like I have hundreds of those images that I've created. And I'm not like, I don't pull like a slot machine. I literally will think about, how is this going to happen? How are these things going to be prompted? What am I trying to do to create this experience? And I'm just becoming aware, my own cognition, my own consciousness, that this might be interesting to pull these images together to create this sort of cosmic video, emphasizing more sensory or spiritual experiences. And we go to like something like Strange Place, which, oh God, I was I was inspired by some of the shenanigans that my mother and her sister used to pull, and ended up writing a book about it, which in turn I was able to create visuals from that. So that my workflow, I think, is, like you said, all over the place.
So I love this. These conversations are some of the most interesting conversations I've ever had artistically, because it's like this entirely new art paradigm that nobody really has a solid like grounding on, of like, this is how you do it. This is how it works. This is how you get the output out. And I'm such a logical thinker that that's usually, I'm like, step 1, step 2, step 3. And like, that's not the case. It's like step 1, step 6, step 2, step 4, step 10 is how I do it. And this is what I get. And you're like, wow, okay. So I would love to know, like, off the top of your head, what percentage of outputs do you feel like you're getting right now that are worthy of you using? Like, what percentage of outputs are you getting from it that you love? Is it 10%? Is it 25%? Is it less than that? What do you mentioned not pulling the slot machine arm. What percentage of those pulls do you think are actually something that you're like, okay, this is a keeper?
So you're asking me, am I an AI purist or
No,
a
you're taking it that way. No.
I'm in between the purist and the manipulator. What percent? Like in the beginning, I would say, like when I first started using it, going back to Playform, I felt like it was 10%. Like, and when you ran
That's pretty
Playform,
good.
right? When you ran Playform, it was an 80-hour dedication. You left your machine and let it run overnight.
Wow.
Not 80 hours. I exaggerate, but
still,
you left
yeah.
it and you came back.
Napster,
right?
in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like, I think I've become a better storyteller to the AI,
Right. You got better at talking
I've
to it and it
right.
understanding. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, well, you don't have to do what you're doing, Tery. Like, I like to tell it the story. I like to still give it the creative direction, right? And then some technical direction. I need the lighting to go this way. I need, the coloring to be this way. I need it to be hyper realistic, stuff like that. I still do that because it's part of my pleasure of doing what I do,
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten a little bit better. I think, it's gone up to like maybe 15 to 20%.
I love that. Love that.
I feel like I feel like, I'm learning more. I'm learning. And as the machines, all change and oh God, they do change on a regular basis. Like when I started doing Strange Place last year, like doing the illustrations for it, Midjourney was in, I don't know, V 3.5. And now and I finished it just a couple of months ago. And we've gone through so many, changes to it. So I had to adjust things and go back to the very beginning and pull things out and put things back in. And I'm always at work. Strange Place, the work in that is the AI portion of it is all underpinnings. The top part is all the illustration that I do when I bring it into Photoshop. And, like I said, I kind of work in between being an AI purist and a manipulator.
Sure. I love this. Actually, as I was thinking about the question, I was thinking to myself, like, what percentage is like the tipping point of like, okay, this thing runs Hollywood now? And like, you said 15%. If 15% of your pulls are something that you find valid and useful and work in your flow, I mean, if we can get that number to 50%, that is outrageous. Like that is crazy. If that number even at 30%, that number's 15% is pretty good. I feel like 30%'s insane. Like that increases output and production level to a place that we've never seen. And that you made me think of a pretty interesting point here of depending on how long your project is or how long you're going to be working on it and the tools update or a tool changes in some way, I wonder how that is affecting any creator that's listening here's production of a tool changes mid project. And, I guess they leave some models up so you can get them, but I have seen other creators say, there's going to be a day where you want to create something that was an older model that, let's call it the spaghetti fingers, 3 left knees, 4 legs model. And somebody's going to want to create something with that. And is it going to be available? Are we going to have that tool available, or is it just fall by the wayside and gone? I don't know. I mean, you have to be running it locally, I guess, but that's a very interesting thing to think about. So, as you're talking about this, it brings up another question that I would love to know, and I think some of our listeners would as well. How are you organizing your outputs? Are you naming them, filing them in a pretty methodical way as you're preparing for a production or a piece? What's your workflow look like all right, I got the image, I got the video. What's your next step?
Oh, that I feel like I'm outed a little bit. Like in some cases, I'm so super, super hyper organized. Like, especially with Beyond Darkness, I was like, I had folders for everything. Every output was named properly. Everything went into all the acts. There are like 5 acts that go, or five scenes, if you
I
will.
think this is like the most. I've done some pretty large productions in my life, and I feel like the organization is one of the most important pieces. So as you talk about this, like that's what it takes to make a great project. And it sounds like you're going to say you don't do that anymore. Keep going.
No. Okay, so for stuff where, for that type of production, like doing film, you really or me personally, I need to be super hyper organized. But if it's something that I'm experimenting with, I get sloppy, and I have sloppy folders. Like I'll have like 3,000 spotted cats. Like all named different names, I do have a library that, these are animals, these are cats, these are elephants, these are flying cupcakes. No, they don't belong in there. They belong in the flying cupcake folder, things like that. But when it takes like either doing book production for me, or even if you're doing, a collection of art, for me, I have to, if I'm doing that, I have to be really hyper organized, or it just could get crazy out there.
Of course, that's how I feel too. I mean, I deal with this, when you're collaborating with somebody or, even step into somebody's shoes in a role somewhere and you see that, they didn't have great organization. It's like, well, I can't even start. I can't even start until we get this thing organized, because I would waste half the day trying to think of where things live or wondering where a file is that I needed. So next question are, what skills do you find are most important right now in the production in the way that you are currently producing content? Is it how you're talking with the AI? Is that the best skill set? Or is it more traditional skill sets like storytelling, even physical skill sets like editing, or some other type of production skill set that people may not be considering when they dive into the space?
I'm going to put it into a hierarchy. So first and foremost, curiosity, imagination,
Excellent answer.
those are
Excellent answer.
so important. And then it's like, okay, I'm curious about, certain things. For me, I need to think about it like, what is this thing going to be at? And I try to work backwards. What's the end result do I want from this? Is it a book? Is it a story? Is it a film? Is it a music video? Is it some piece of pattern design that's going to go on a product? What am I trying to do with this? And then the rest of it falls into place. Like, okay, I have the curiosity, the imagination. I'm the creativity. Okay, I'm creating, flying cupcakes. What am I going to use that for? Like, oh, wait, flying cupcakes are part of Strange Place. There has to be flying cupcakes in there, right? And then it's sorting it out. It's like, okay, let's pinpoint is this going to be, how am I going to bring this in? Is it just a piece that goes underneath the base piece? In Photoshop, or is it a base piece that's going to happen in Runway or Luma or one of the other tools that I'm going to use and build off of it? So then I start thinking about it goes back to the creative direction, my own, like, what's the creative direction for this? What's the technical direction? What's the production output? And how do I bring that all together? Are there other avenues? Like, now I have to think about every time I go to write a story or create a book, am I going to turn this into something else? So Strange Place, even though it's a book, I want to make it into a mini series for Rad TV, which I think will be a lot of fun. But also I have, some folks who approached me and like, oh, we love the patterns on the characters in Strange Place. Can you make PJs or, teacups and, print and stuff for that? So, when you get to the commercialization of it, think through all the scenarios.
Love that. I so love that you started off with curiosity, because that is really an incredible, I don't know if I want to call it a skill set, but a gift. It's really, it really empowers you. And something I've always pointed to is the passion of wanting to get the thing done, needing to get that vision out is usually the most important thing to me. And once that sets in of, I have the vision, I have to get it out. That's the one thing that I would say is irreplaceable. It's like the I'm doing this and nothing's going to stop it. I don't care, what it takes. It's, I am finishing this and I'm going to sleep less until it happens. So, you mentioned a couple tools here. I'd love to know what your favorite tools are right now. And I would also love to know what you feel that the space is missing in regards to these tool sets. What's something that you wish existed, or something that you need often that you don't have access to at the moment?
So I think Black Light brought this up too in the interview. Let's start with the missing need. For me, I'm working in between all sorts of tools, right? So I'm taking something that Runway can do really well, but then I need something else added to it. So I might go into Luma, I might go into Kriya. And then it's like, okay, I have this now Frankenstein thing, right? Even though it's not really Frankenstein thing, but how do I finish it up? And I wish there were one AI that could allow me to bring all those elements in. And I have to unfortunately say, I go back to the more traditional thing, which is bring it into Premiere.
Yeah, I was going to say Adobe. That's I know you make people mad saying that, but that's where it is, right?
That's where
we have to end in the editor, so it's either there or what, Final Cut.
Exactly. So it's hard for me to say, Cam, what is my favorite tool because each one does something that I really, really love. Like Midjourney will make certain elements or, characterization come to life that I really love. But then there's like Luma, which will do other things that I really love too. And um, it all depends on how like precise. Like when I was working on Beyond Darkness, in my notes on my script, I was really detailed about what I was looking for. So it made that process a little bit more easier of bouncing from runway into Kriya, and then the final book output being Premiere, or in my case, I like the stripped down Premiere, which is Rush.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I love Premiere. I've used Final Cut for several years and then got out of it and got into Premiere. And I've never really looked back. I think it's a great tool, and that's something I think is currently missing is the all-in-one. And Blacklight and I talked about this. Just an aggregator. It feels like we have all these different plugins, but there's not one unit to plug these things into. So they're all spread out. They're all different user experiences and UIs, and that's its own hurdle. I mean, I remember Halim Al-Rasihi, if anybody in the space is familiar with him, he was using Kling, and he was using GPT to translate from English, or maybe it was even German. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but like from English or German to Chinese, and then he would take his prompt in Chinese and put it in Kling, and then get his work out. And it's like none of this is in English, and there's not an English version. He's just like clicking around and figuring it out. And I'm like, what a brilliant dude to be able to just be like, I'm doing it. I don't care. And that goes back to like I'm going to use this. I'm going to get this project done. So I love your perspective on that as well as far as your tool sets go. How many, if you don't mind sharing, how many tools do you think you are currently using right now? Is it 10? Is it less than that?
It's slightly less. It's 8.
8. That's interesting that you even know that. Does everybody know that? Is that like a count? Is that a thing that AI creators utilizing AI are looking at? Is that a frequent point of conversation?
I don't know. I don't know. I just figure I got to know these 8 tools, and some of them are used for concepting. Like I use PicGen for concepting because it gives me several different models. Midjourney for some images, or Stability, or Luma, or Kriya, or Runway for great special effects. I could go on. Copy AI. Sure. I think I named them all. Maybe. Am I missing? I feel bad.
It's
I'm
tough.
sorry.
No, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. It's fine. We forget things. I forget all the places we have apps sometimes. It's hard to remember 10 different. It's like I have to name all these platforms 10 times. It's just like, now we have apps everywhere. Just search for Rad TV everywhere. So are you still selling any physical works? Are you still doing anything physical at all? Are you painting? Do you bust out the brushes and paints ever anymore?
Only if I have to. I know there are some programs, some apps, some AIs that I'm going to experiment with some of the drawings that I have from the past, and seeing if they could, bring the line work and things like that to life in a more animated way. So I'm going to look into, trying those out. Oh, I did forget the music apps. Sorry, music apps.
Oh yeah, well,
Sorry.
I forgot those too. I didn't even pop into my mind, honestly. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. We did. So I would love to know where your head is right now in the space. What do you think the next big moment is? And I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're going to aim to wrap up in the next 25 minutes, so be done at the top of the hour-ish. I got some other good questions for Tery and a couple of things I would like to finish up on. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to raise your hands. Again, my name is Cameron. I'm head of community at Rad TV, and we are interviewing Tery for episode 9 of NFTV. And Tery is an incredible creator on X, part of the AI community. She has a bunch of works up on Rad TV. If you go to radtv.com right now, the first thing you'll see in our feature carousel is Tery's Beyond Darkness. There's a trailer available for free, and you can purchase that using ETH on base. So, Tery, what's next in the AI space from your perspective? What's the next big moment that we're looking for, that you're looking for, that's going to be an indicator for the next epic or the next big event in the space?
God, I would love to see VR becoming so much easier instead of I did my first VR piece, like creative piece, not like making a VR gallery. This year, I got into the Loop. What is it? The Loop Art Critique residency, and you had to create a VR piece, which was amazing. But I think the part that I felt was lacking was I think AI needed to be really ingrained into those tools. So instead of me having to go create the world, the shape of the world and stuff like that, using some other tool and then bringing it in, I should be able to direct the AI and say, look, I want this very cosmic-y looking, world to happen. And basically being able to tell it the story that I want to tell, so that when you come in to experience this VR world, it is as realistic as I want it to be, that which is happening in my mind. So I would love to see that, because I think that will really make VR and AI, a whole nother level of creativity and interaction and fun.
So do
Things like
we.
that.
So do we. Tony had this vision in 2012, started building it in 2013. If you guys aren't following Tony Mugavero, he's in this chat. You can just see his picture, white background, face says Tony. Follow him, bug him, tag him in tweets, spam him. But he had this vision of the way all these things would come together. And it really, it took 10 years. But here we are. And, we have Skybox, we have Blockade, that are making worlds in with one sentence. You got one in 5 seconds or whatever it is, and it really does feel like we're going to enter this new period where you can just prompt a world and then fill it with characters, and then probably be able to manipulate that world and those characters in any way you want to bring them to life. It's very exciting that that's where we're headed, and we do support 360, 180. We support holograms. We support volumetric video on Rad TV. And that all goes back to, Tony saw this years ago when they were working with Microsoft in the volumetric studio. They had like 180 4K cameras pointed at you from every direction to capture every movement that you had. And I don't know what the number was, but I want to say it was like Tony might correct me. Maybe he'll DM me if he's listening. But I think it was like $4,000 a minute or something. It was crazy. Or maybe more than that. It was crazy just for the record and processing time. But it does seem like that's coming. So, Tery, I would love for you, and I know, the space is so amazing. I know there's so many inspiring creatives in the space that you're connected with. Any creators that you would like to give a shout out that are inspiring you right now and that you're looking to in the space as leaders for what they're delivering creatively or tool-wise, productivity-wise?
Oh my God, there are so many. This could be a whole nother hour. I see some, I see, Dagmar, I see Michael Finney, I see Bijou, Frisky is in here, Frisky Foxtrot. I see Blacklight, Level Up. I mean, oh my God, these guys are the next,
They're it. Yeah,
they
they're
are
the
the
waves.
leaders,
I agree. Yeah.
And they are doing phenomenal things. I think we're still at this like experimentation phase, but I think things are getting so much better. And I love the spirit of sharing. And I may not be so articulate. Like on AI art today, I kind of avoid the technological discussions because in my mind I understand it, but articulating it, it's a whole nother ball game. And in like Benny and
Benny
Mad
does such a
Butter
great
and
job. Yeah, Benny does an
oh
excellent
my
job.
God. ABC DJ, oh, he's another like, technological creative genius, Um, I think we're so at the beginning. We are the leaders, we are the mavericks that are changing this. I'm so excited about, where this is going to lead us. Like,
Same.
even getting back to a little bit about what you guys are doing over
Yep.
there with the VR and stuff like that. Imagine like imagine history, imagine experiencing
Hmm.
history, where you just like walk into that room and now you really understand it.
Yep.
Sometimes, reading it it gives you great visual. You sort of you understand it. Even watching it, you sort of get it. But when you're in the middle of it and you're experiencing it, oh my God, that's what the dream is, right?
Yep.
Bringing
Yep.
that to life.
Yeah, we are very excited about this, and we think Apple's doing a great job of pushing this to the forefront of people's minds at the moment. Of people really underestimate what VR is capable of, and we have some incredible partners like Mind VR on Rad that is doing a lot. They have a thing called Elder Space on Rad TV right now, and they're doing a lot for mental health for the elderly through VR, and it helps people connect and in ways and view things that their family may have had events or something that they couldn't participate in, but you can capture those events right now. A camera is like $100 or $300, and I know that's a lot. That is a lot of money to some people. But when you consider what you can capture with those devices, and then you can load them to Rad TV and store them forever, you can literally show you can show somebody instead of a picture, you can put a headset on them and they can be in the room while the gifts are being opened at Christmas. That's, available now, right now to everyone. And I feel like not enough people understand how amazing these moments are and how capturing them could affect someone in the future and impact them in a way that we literally cannot imagine today. And we're very excited for this. And, it's something that we think will catch on as people will want to be capturing these moments. And there are new cameras coming out. I'm sure people here are aware of the Blackmagic camera, and the new Apple iPhones are capable of capturing things that relay these experiences and make them possible. But we're here now. Like the future is now, like it's not sometime in 10 years or something. Like we have all the crazy shit right now. We just all need to be using it, and the tools make themselves known, which we are. So, that being said, thank you for sharing that. And I totally agree. There's so many amazing people and inspiring people in this space. And now to close for our next 15 minutes or so, Tery, I'd love to talk about your recent releases on Rad TV. Of course, we'd love to know why you are so excited about Rad TV and what you see the future for yourself collaborating with Rad TV is. But also love to know more about Beyond Darkness and Cosmic Cats and Flying Cupcakes. So wherever you want to pick up, I'll continue asking questions about these productions as we go for the next 20 minutes or so. But how in the world do you come up with Cosmic Cats and Flying Cupcakes? Where does that come from? And what sparked these ideas?
So Cosmic Cats and Flying Cupcakes comes from Strange Place. And it's also a little bit of a dig back to I had a boss that was kind of cruel, and she would, call me Cupcake every once in a while and Crazy Cat Lady, and I just thought, wow, this is a great way of giving it back. So the birth of Cosmic Cats and Flying Cupcakes came about because of a number of different things. And I just thought it's open-ended enough to be able to allow, me to invite other people to produce things that, live up to the sort of expectations of, something being a little bit out there on the edge, not your normal TV show or film or whatever, little cosmic-y, science fiction-y, and things like that. And work with other creators who want to produce something. It may not necessarily want their channel on Rad, but want to, work with me on different projects. So that would be great. Beyond Darkness. So it was originally a book. It was a visual book that I turned into this film to explore the notion of quantum, the notion of death, and what happens in those instances, those moments before, when you realize, there's no turning back. And I thought it was, when I was looking at the book, I'm like, this should be a film. It shouldn't be a book. And it took me a long time. It took me about 6 months or so to bring it to life and make it into something. And I did submit it to a couple of film festivals, in which 2 were traditional film festivals, and one was the AI film festival that just happened. But it was good to get the feedback on even from the ones that I got rejected from and why. But it was a good learning experience for creating something that out of a book, a visual, making into a film, and all the steps that you need to really understand about doing this, and the approach, and even the costs. Like, it was my first time doing something that was longer than a couple of seconds to something that became just a little under 9 minutes. I think it's 8 minutes, 52 seconds, 10 nanoseconds, or something ridiculous like that. But it cost me money because I ran through my my runway, credits fairly quickly. Plus, I got a great tip from Neil, who's another really amazing artist, to take some of the runway footage and bring it into Korea so that I can upscale it. And that worked out really well. So cost, was something I had to learn about. Even though I knew production costs from the agency world, I didn't realize my own production cost in developing a 9-minute film. So what else is up there? I did talk a little bit about Sir Miles Whiskerton, which was a fun music video based on Mark Jeffries' amazing cat. So it's up there. There's also another music video that I created, which is If Fishes Were Wishes. And I wrote this poem, and I wanted it to be through the background sound to be very somewhat melancholic, but interesting, a little bit edgy. And it worked out really well. The visuals came together. I like koi fishes and making them move and float and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. And I think those are the 3 major pieces that I have on Rad TV. I do have my portfolio if anybody's interested in
Yeah, we'd
seeing
love.
it.
Yeah, where can people find your books? Are they available anywhere publicly? And where is all of your video work other than Rad TV? And as I mentioned earlier, if you go to radtv.com right now, the first thing you'll see in our feature section on the watch page is a picture of Tery's Beyond Darkness. And click on that, and you'll go to Tery's page, and you can check out all of her work and pick up anything that she's minted on base for very low fees, like a penny or less. And you're connecting directly with Tery and supporting Tery directly. So go ahead, Tery.
Thank you, Cam. So I am going to start moving things off of YouTube because I found that being on Rad TV, I get the output looks amazing. I get more attention or views. I don't know how many views I'm getting, but I get the feeling I get more. It's coming.
It's
okay,
coming. Yeah,
good.
we're launching views, comments, and likes any day. I know Tony's listening. I don't know if he's going to jump in and say today
Hey,
or not,
Tony.
but yes, it's coming, and I know it's getting ready to roll out here any day. So views, comments, likes coming very soon to Rad TV.
So this is a tip for everybody. I did put together a short, it's like 4 minutes and 23-second portfolio piece and put it on Rad and made it available for free. And the reason why I did that is there are no ads. Like on YouTube, I get all these ads in between, I had a couple of clients last year who were like, show me your reel. And I'm like, okay, here it is. And like, yeah, we really love that,
The
Oscar
Tide
Mayer.
ad. Yeah,
Right,
exactly. Thanks for stealing 90 seconds from us.
No, you weren't supposed to see that. So now I'm more comfortable. And Vimeo is so expensive, so I kind of stayed away from that. But here it's so clean and it looks great. I would encourage anybody, even if you don't want like to be developing content for a channel and doing films and all sorts of things, at least put your gorgeous portfolio up there.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. What else? Oh, so this year my silly Christmas card this year, I actually used a QR code on it, which brings people to Rad TV so that they can see, which is for free, everybody. You can all see the magical Merry Christmas card, holiday card. You could think creatively like that. What else can I tell you? Maybe I got off the
No, that's great. No, this is awesome. I do have a couple other questions. So I would love to know what's your grand goal right now as a creator for yourself? What's your vision for yourself? If it's just self-expression and connecting with the community, that's fine. But we'd love to hear what your goals are as a creator right now and where you're headed.
Okay, so specifically for Rad TV, I want to, so I'll be very specific. So Strange Place, I want to make it into a mini series. So Strange Place will be based on a book that I just published. Quantum Time is music videos emphasizing sensory spirit and sort of spiritual experiences. I want to take this absolutely horrifically dry sense of humor book that I wrote last year called Tales from Space and make it into these little mini montages and bring that to Rad. I am trying to get Mark Jeffrey, who is also an author, to write a script so that we can take Sir Miles and expand on his, cosmic space adventures. So I'm hoping that we could do like maybe some kind of series around that. And then Laundrygate. And I am looking for people to, who want to read Laundrygate and see, potential in it to help like create this like, TV series around volume 1 and then eventually volume 2. So that's for Rad TV. I do have other creative goals like, writing another book. I think I'm going to only do one book next year. This year, doing 2. Oh, actually, I did 3. I worked on Sandy's book for the retrofuturism. I didn't write it; Sandy wrote it, but I did work on it. So, and that was a lot but
3
I think
books in a
next
year
year
is wild. That
it's
is
a
a
lot.
lot of work.
Yeah, one book at the beginning of the year was what was it called? AI for Brands. So it was a textbook. But yeah, I think I'm just going to narrow it down to one book for next year. And I do other things. Like I have a clothing line that I do patterns for. Oh God, I do crazy teacups with absolutely wild. They're black and white and they're beautiful.
Are you
They're
selling these?
bone
Where can
chilling.
people find these?
Yeah.
Where
Oh
are they?
yeah.
Give us a
So
plug. Yeah.
I decided this year, after trying, a couple of times of installing Printful on my website, that, I get better. I'd rather not have to manage the e-commerce. So I use Contrato, which I love. I also, that's for like, clothing and china cups or bone china cups and decorative like dishes and things like that. I use Amazon for publishing all my books. I think there are 12 books there.
And people can find you just by Googling Tery Spataro.
Yep, Tery Spataro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, any advice for creators that are listening to this space and want to have a career like you've had and be as prolific of a creator as you are? Any advice for somebody just getting started or maybe even in the middle of their journey?
It's really interesting. I think the folks who are either wanting to change, the younger folks who are wanting to change, or folks who are people who are, going to school and trying to make those decisions are. I feel like they were so much better. They're so much better equipped at those decisions than I am, or I was at that point in my life. But I think the couple of things that I learned are more on the emotional thing. Patience was a big thing. uh, you know, um, don't lose your creativity, and don't think it's just because you got to sit in front of a computer and do something, out of Photoshop or whatever AI you're working with. You could see creativity by going outside and looking at the clouds and imagining what might happen there. Don't lose your imagination. Dreams are phenomenal. Always look at, like, some other resources. Like, the funny example for Strange Place was, I never thought my mother and my aunt were hilarious, but watching them, interact with each other, those two are just off the chart hilarious. So you could find, like, inspiration in things that you don't realize could be inspiring, and save those. Also, like, tragedy or, things like that could be just as inspiring to, I think that's where it comes from. It's the guts of your work. Don't lose that part, or nurture that part. Don't give it up so quickly for, gosh, what was I offered? Oh, the Jaguar and the large salary from Ogilvy.
Hey, that's pretty good. And you launched the Volvo campaign. I mean, that was Volvo, Reebok. I think you made a good decision, Terry. I'm pretty sure. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you made the right decision.
But don't lose yourself entirely. Be that maverick that doesn't mind. I was fired from Ogle. No, I shouldn't say that. It was a big layoff. I volunteered to leave.
Terry, I have really
Um,
enjoyed speaking with you today. You
it's
are
good.
incredible. This has been a lot of fun, and you're such a special person.
Oh,
It's I'll tell you here in front of everybody, but the amount of people that I've had conversations with since a month ago that have pointed at you as a light in their life is unbelievable. I mean, it is. I'm talking like I probably had 25 or 30 calls in the past 2 weeks or so, and definitely a third of them reference you in the conversations of either you being inspirational or you encouraging them and giving them the strength to keep going or to try something new. You've been an absolute light in our community, and I know the broader community as well. So thank you very much for showing up the way you do every day. Thank you for giving us your time, and thanks for being so candid and personable today. As we touched on some things that usually don't get touched on X, and it's always a little more fun and stay off those tougher topics. And you opening up and sharing about your tragedies and your entire journey is really special. And I'm grateful for your time and to be on the space with you. Thank you.
oh my God, Cam, thank you, and Tony. I just think Rad TV has opened up a whole universe, and gosh, I'm very grateful for this. I never get to tell my story, and I felt really comfortable with, talking to you and sharing those things. And thank you for letting me do this. It's been phenomenal.
Thank you for coming on here. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and it definitely won't be our last time. We'd love to have you back after these holidays are over. We'll have you back at the first of the year. And of course, anytime you are dropping a project or anything, we'd love to have you on to do some promo for that. It doesn't have to be a 2 hour space where you share your whole life story, but you're more than welcome to. And I'm sure now that we have built a little bit more in our relationship, I'll have a ton of questions for you moving forward on our next conversation as well. It's been very inspiring to hear your journey and to see all the different facets of creativity that you've involved in your career and touched in your career, and to hear how early and I mean, you really have a wild ride into AI coming from your first interaction and remembering that as an algorithm in 2000, and then all the way 20 years later, now you're using these tool sets to be creative. It's a really awesome story. If anybody who joined late, encourage you to go back and listen to this from the beginning. Tery's journey is inspiring and very entertaining. So definitely give it a listen. This episode will be up on Rad TV, hopefully today. We're also going to make live our previous conversation, episode 8, which was with Kiri from the Luma Labs Creator Partnership Program. That will be live as soon as we get off of here. I just need to click a couple buttons and make it live. And that was great as well. Hear everything about what Luma's doing and what so many awesome creators are doing at Luma. And anybody who's not aware, you can go to Rad TV right now and you can view radtv.com. You can view, there's a tab that's on the watch page. You click it for Luma creators. And there's also a feature banner that's in the 4th slot in our feature carousel. If you click that, you're taken to a dedicated Luma Labs AI creators page. That's nothing but Luma Labs creators. There's a channel tab and a most recent uploads tab. So if anybody wants to connect with fellow creators or check out work from Luma creators, easily found on Rad TV and easy to connect with your community. So again, Tery, thank you so much. My name's Cameron. I'm head of community at Rad TV. This has been episode 9 of NFTV, and we have been interviewing Queen Tery. It's on X. Her handle is at Tery. She's got one of the very coveted 4-letter handles. Tery, when did you sign up for X? I'm not going to go to your page at the moment, but when did you sign up?
I think it was 2007.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're
it feels
early
like
everywhere.
OG.
You're early
I'm
everywhere.
OG.
We're glad to have you on
Yeah.
Rad TV. Your prowess of picking things early it bodes well for Rad TV's future.
Thank you, Cam.
Thank you, Tery. Anything you would like to share before we end this space? It's 3:05. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Tery, tell us, I know you said Amazon for your books. Your videos are on Rad TV, Tery on X. Anything else you would like to share before we get off here, Tery?
I just want to say again, thank you for introducing us to Carrie in Luma Labs. And I'm super excited about that relationship. And I did get my, the creator I did get into the creator program, it looks like. And that is just, I can't wait to create the stuff that I'm going to create for it.
I can't wait to see it.
So, but again, thank you so much. And oh gosh, I guess on my Tery page on Twitter or profile, there all the links are there in Linktree.
Yep. Awesome.
But thank you again, everybody. You've been so amazing.
Thank you, Tery. You're really a light in the space, and we're grateful to be connected with you. Anybody listening, I truly encourage you to connect with the people in the space. Go just click follow. Go click a name in the space and click follow and connect with these people. If you are thinking about entering a community, I'm not joking. I've been on X since 2008. My previous favorite community was the NFT scene 2021, 2022. The AI community blows every other community I've ever been a part of on X out of the water. It is the most inclusive, loving, positive community I have ever seen. It is very special. Even when they're sharing negativity, they're doing it in a way that's like uplifting and informational as opposed to like just, bashing something or being negative. So I encourage you all to connect with people in this space. Anybody you see, click on them, connect with them. Before we get off here, I'm going to give a shout out to some people. Blacklight, thanks so much for showing up today. You're incredible. Bijou, thank you for all your energy and everything you do for AI art today. Altered Alley's doing incredible things. Go check out Altered Alley, everything they're doing at Spatial. Mad Butter, thank you for being here. You're incredible. You're an awesome host. Also, Mad Butter, while you're on here, I'm going to tell you, has anybody ever said to you that you sound, and I'm sorry this is offensive, but I have a 1-year-old son, 14-month-old son, that you sound like the bear in the Big Blue House? Have you ever heard that? I don't know if you ever heard that. But the bear in the Big Blue House, you have have a very similar voice. It's so calming and pleasing. DJ Squirtle, what up? OCME and the AI Music Video Show. If you want to get your work featured on there, connect with DJ Squirtle and get your work on their streams. They're doing some awesome stuff. Who else we got? Level Up, Frisky, Foxtrot, Dagmar, Michael Finney. Shout out Michael Finney, longtime Rad user. We love you so much. Everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Tery, can't say enough about you. You're incredible. Don't change. Keep lighting up the world. Thank you for sharing with us. Visit radtv.com. Again, my name is Cameron. You can find me in X DMs or in our Discord. My DMs are open in Discord as well. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email's Cameron@radtv.com. If you don't like using socials, contact me. We'll set up calls. We'll chat. Happy to answer any questions you have. Anybody interested in creating at radtv.com, everything is totally free for creators. Go to radtv.com right now. You can start monetizing for free, create a free channel. If you have any questions about anything, hit me in DMs. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Tery, thank you so much. Go follow Tery. Check out Tery's work on Rad. Buy something. Put some money in her wallet. Love you all. Thanks for listening today. See you out there. Have a great week.
Living in a digital age, Rad TV's here. Turn the page, creators getting paid from day one. Monetize your content, let's have some fun. Web3 vibes, we're on the chain. Decentralized, breaking the reins. Multi-chain support, we're spreading the love. Rad TV's taking content above and beyond. Every device, we're everywhere. Rad TV beyond compare. Streaming dreams, living large. Get your stream pass, NFT, take charge. Rad TV, oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one, getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Apps on your phone, PlayStation 2. Rad TV, it's all brand new. From your couch or on the go. Stream your favorite shows, let's roll. Creators rise, it's your time. Monetize, keep every dime. Rad TV's the place to be. Join a revolution, set your content free. Every device, we're everywhere. Rad TV beyond compare. Streaming dreams, we're living large. Get your stream pass, NFT, take charge. Rad TV, oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one, getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Never gonna stop. From morning to night, we're in your sight. Rad TV, the future's bright. Content kings and queens arise. On Rad TV, reach for the skies. Rad TV, oh, we're breaking free. Where creators thrive, and you can see from day one, getting paid. Join the fun, don't be afraid. Rad TV, it's all you need. Web3 power, we're in the lead. Stream pass, NFT, premium unlocked. Rad TV, we're never gonna stop. Rad TV, the place to be for creators and fans. We're the key. Join the wave, let's make some noise. Rad TV, we're the future, enjoy.